Welcome to Section 2, Module 1. Before we start, I would like to give some credit for the slides to Professor Watson, who was my professor at Harvard University. Today we're going to go over the law of demand and, of course, the demand curve, changes in demand versus changes in quantity demanded, and the determinants of demand. And let's start by looking at the concept of a demand schedule. That is just a table that shows the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded, holding all non-price determinants constant. This is an example of a demand schedule. This over here is going to be the market demand schedule. As you can see, it just relates the price, it just shows the relationship between the price and the quantity individuals are going to demand at that given price. And when we add the quantity that each individual is going to demand at that price, we get the market quantity demanded. And so, for example, when the price is 0, the market is going to demand 24 units. When the price is 5, the market is going to demand 9 units. It is important that this is the case only when the market has a certain, income, a certain price of related goods, tastes and preferences, expectations about the future, and the number of buyers are constant. Otherwise, the units, they're going to demand that each price can change. The demand curve is just a graphic representation of the demand schedule. As we can see here, the demand curve is made of points, and those points are determined by the demand schedule. For example, at a price of $2, the market is going to demand 18 units. That's exactly what we have here. At a price of $2, the market is going to demand 18 units. And when the price is $5, the market is going to demand 9 units. So at 5, we have 9. The demand curve is always going to be downward sloping because it shows the law of demand, which states that as prices go up, quantity demanded goes down. So when prices go down, for example, in this case, from $5 to $2, the quantity demanded is going to increase. And to know exactly by how much is going to increase, we just look at the demand schedule or at the graph if we had more numbers in the graph, and we see that there has been a change from $5 to $2, and therefore there is going to be a change in quantity demanded from 9 units to 18 units. And that's why when there's a change in price, you go from a point in the curve to another point in the curve, and there is a movement along the demand curve. In the case the price increases, quantity demanded is going to decrease, and that's why it generates a movement along the demand curve. It is important to have this distinction because a change in price causes a movement along the demand curve, but there are other factors that cause the actual demand curve to shift. But in this case, it's just a movement along the demand curve because you go from point A to point B when the price increases from $1 to $2. When the demand curve shifts, it's because there's going to be a change in income, price of related goods, expectations about the future, tastes and preferences, or the quantity of buyers. And in this case, for example, when tastes change more in favor of the good, it's going to make the market demand more at every single price level. And that's because individuals are going to demand more at every single price level. So as a result, the market is going to demand more quantity at every price level. It's actually going to change the whole demand schedule and it's going to make the demand curve shift to the right or shift to the left. And when you have a change in price, you really only move along the demand curve or along the demand schedule. For example, as we saw, if the price changes from 3 to 4, the quantity demanded is going to go from 15 to 12. So the factors that cause the demand curve to shift are factors other than the price of a good. But in this case, when the factors change, the demand curve actually shifts. For example, things that can increase demand, it's going to be, in the case it is a normal good, if we have an increase in income, if we have more money, if we are wealthier, we are going to demand more units at every price level, shifting the demand curve to the right. In the case is an inferior good, which are goods whose demand decrease when income increases, such as hamburgers in McDonald's, for example. When you're wealthier, you demand less of them because you are actually going to buy, more expensive products. So in that case, when you become poorer, your demand for inferior goods increases at every price level, shifting the demand curve to the right. Most goods, however, are normal goods. For example, a piece of steak, a car, etc. When the price of a substitute goes up, the demand curve for the product is going to shift right because a substitute is something like McDonald's and Burger King. If the price at McDonald's goes up, if the price of a substitute goes up, your demand for Burger King hamburgers is going to increase due to the fact that you're going to buy at Burger King instead of McDonald's because the prices at McDonald's are higher. Now, the demand curve of a good whose complement's price went down is going to shift to the right because, for example, a complement would be DVD players and CDs. So when the price of DVD players goes down, that means that people are going to buy more DVD players in the market. But if the market demands more DVD players, in order for them to function, you also need CDs. So your demand for CDs is also going to increase, making the demand curve for CDs shift right. Now, if you have a positive change in tastes or preferences for a good, the demand curve for that good is going to shift right because you're actually going to demand more of it because you like it more. Now, if the expectations about the future become better, for example, you're thinking that you're going to become wealthier, right now you're actually going to demand more product for a certain good. And lastly, when the number of buyers increases, the market is going to demand more, shifting the demand curve to the right, just because, for example, 2 people demand more output than just 1. And just like there are factors that increase demand, those exact same factors can decrease demand if they move in the opposite position. For example, if it's a normal good, if you become poorer, you're going to demand less output at every price level, demanding less output, shifting the demand curve to the left. If it's an inferior good, if you become richer, you are going to demand less output at every price level for that inferior good because you're going to buy better products. If the price of a substitute goes down, then the demand curve for the good is going to shift left because people are going to demand more output of that substitute than this product just because this product is going to be more expensive in comparison. Then if the price of a complement goes up, the demand for the good is going to shift left because since you need the complement in order for the good to function and the complement's price went up, meaning that people are going to demand less of it, people are also going to demand less of their product at every price level, shifting the demand curve left. Now, if there are a negative change in expectations about the future. So for example, that you're going to become poorer, then right now you're going to demand less product at every price level just because you'll want to save some money for the future. Now, if suddenly there's a study that says that a product causes cancer, causing a negative change in tastes or preferences, then you're going to demand less output at every price level for that product, shifting the demand curve for that product to the left. And then if the number of buyers decreases, then the demand curve for a product is going to shift left, just because two buyers demand more product at every price level than just one. So this is all for today, guys. I hope this was helpful, and it is going to be definitely when we get to section 2, module 4, when we see changes in equilibrium.